Hello YouTubers, and today I've finally got this in the post today. This is the Ruins of Skaro set, which is the latest character online exclusive, and I have quite a few things to say about this, and there's some weird things that have happened with this set. But anyway, we'll put the Daleks to one side. Ooh, and you can see problem number one is the Movellings do not stand up very well on their own. They're very top heavy figure because they've got very little feet, which the camera doesn't want to focus on. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why the camera doesn't want to focus on it, but use manual focus. So yeah, you can see on the bottom of the feet there, they've got some sort of scuffing and that on there to make it look like they've been in the deserts and that of Skaro. But if we take a look at the actual head sculpt itself, come on head sculpt, focus, really doesn't want to focus on this head, and I don't blame it because while the head sculpt itself is not bad, the biggest problem with this head sculpt is that it's again an unpainted one. So, yeah. So, if we take a look at the actual head sculpt, it's not bad, actually. It's not bad at all. Now, both figures basically have... Let's take the gun out of there. Both figures basically have the exact same head sculpt. The only difference is that one flesh tone is slightly darker than the other. But, yeah... I mean, some people have said it's different. If it is, it's very slight. I think it's more the paint apps that have made it look a little bit different than that between the two of them. Now, personally, I am not a fan of Alduar doing the let's not paint the head sculpt to bring out the detail thing, because the problem with that is almost every single time he has done this, the figure itself has looked really plasticky as a result. And with these two, it's no real exception to the rule, unfortunately. I think they do just look, you know, a bit plasticky. It works a bit better with the Movellings, I guess, than other figures, because with other ones, you know, these are meant to be robots, so I guess it can work a little bit more with that. But yeah, I wish you'd go back to doing, you know, painted heads. Now, I know there is a problem with that, in that sometimes, you know, you can go overboard or not quite get the flesh tone correct, but yeah, with this, it just looks, you know, a bit odd. I'm going to put one on them down. There we go, it's easier to hold. So, yeah, the rest of the figure and that, with its use of reused parts here and then, tweaked parts, for example, the boots and that, I believe, are slightly tweaked in that to have the sort of pattern and that, the sort of quilted pattern and that on there, and as well as the tunic and that as well. It's also nice that we've got the little glow sticks, or whatever they actually were, and that on the side. But yeah, it is a nice figure. We even have a little power pack, or whatever it is, that powers the Movelling, so yeah, it's really easy to defeat a Movellin, and that just remove its power pack or whatever it is there off the side of its belt, and boom. Unfortunately, you can't remove this off the belt, or at least you're not meant to. If you did pull at it, it would come off, but as I said, this thing appears to just be glued on, so yeah. Everything else about it, though, is going really well, including the hair with the little beads at the end and that. But yeah. Now, the question is, why do I have sort of two more generic type Movellings? You know, the obvious thing to do would be to also have a leader one. And the reason is because the leader is male, so it would have to be a completely different body and that, and use a completely different sculpt and that. So, yeah, that's really why we don't have the leader Movelling who has the black beads and that around the end. But other than that, it is a nice figure. But yeah, the plastic, particularly the way it sort of sheens and that, I know they do spray it up to try and make it look a bit better, but yeah, it just does not look good. And most companies who do it they're not doing Algarve. Companies don't do this because, oh, they want the sculpt to come out, you know, as sharp as possible. No, no, no. Companies do this because it's a cost-cutting measure. And, yeah, this being an online exclusive, you know, being 40 quid, and we'll get onto that price later, believe me, this set should not have any cost-cutting measures, you know, to it. You should have the whole shabam to it. So, yeah, it's a shame. It is well articulated with my ball-jointed arms and elbows and that, so it does have good articulation. But as I said, because the feet are so small, and this figure being top-heavy, this is a problem with a lot of the female characters when they come out as figures and that. Because the feet and that are so small, it makes them very top-heavy, which makes them very difficult to stand up. Now, they do come with an accessory, which is this, which is the little gun, which is really well done. It's slightly oversized, and the reason it's slightly oversized is because it needs to fit over the figure's hand. So it's ever so slightly larger scale than the actual guns were, like, not really noticeable, but it's because the hands actually have to, figure hands have to fit inside there, and they kind of do. You kind of have, the thing is, the hands weren't really sculpted for this, so you have to kind of jam them in there, but it does hold it fairly securely, as you can see. Now, there's also a little notch here on the belt, where you can technically clip the gun onto, but I'd recommend not doing this for display purposes, because I did that just before this review, and this one rolled off my desk, and it took me a few minutes to find it. So, yeah, with these guns, yeah, if you're posing it in the hands for display purposes, that should be fine, but on the belt, they can literally just drop off because, as you know, as I said, there's only a teeny tiny bit of plastic, and that's holding them on. So, yeah. But anyway, let's get on to the figure that most people actually care about in this set, and the reason, you know, people wanted this, including myself, you know, I've been wanting it for ages. We've got the Suicide Dalek, or the Dalek with bombs, or the Bomber Dalek, or the whatever. So, this is different from the initial leaked pictures we saw of an early sample copy, in the fact that it doesn't have a raised section here. So, yeah, which it really should do, because it's the Dalek with the black oval here. Now, and also the grey section band around there. So, basically, the prop that this is based off, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but the prop that this is based off does have a raised neck section, like this, which Algarve implemented last year. Now, it should have the mesh molded into that, which it doesn't, but, you know, still, it should have that. And the thing is, the original sample copy that was leaked online did have that raised neck section, and yeah, it appeared to possibly have used the newer type of slack sculpt, whereas this one uses the older one. If I just bring in an older figure just to compare it, you can see here that it actually uses the older type of slack sculpt rather than the newer one. This could be to do with the fact that the bombs were designed to fit on the older type of slack sculpt, because under here they do have slight little notches in them. It could be that reason, I don't know, or not, who knows. They are just stuck on though. They are just stuck on, which is why they're in these types of placements. The bombs are stuck on the sculpt. They're not actually sculpted onto it. So yeah, if you wanted to remove one, like for, you know, your fourth Doctor to hold or something like that, then, you know, you could probably just remove one of them and that, and hopefully get the glue residue off. I'd recommend using a hairdryer with that, not a heat gun, because a heat gun is going to melt it. So yeah, if you were to do that, or use the boil and pop method. But yeah, so we don't have the raised section here, so that's a problem. The thing is though, this could have been rectified if it was meant to be masquerading as a different Dalek. So if it was meant to be a different Dalek and that from the story, this would have actually been correct. But the fact that it's got the black oval, nope, you need that raised section on there. Now, most of the Daleks do have that raised section on there. So, yeah. Another problem with this is it's got a very slight sort of satin type finish, rather than its glossy finish. Which, yeah, this Galaxies have a much more glossy type finish. Now, they do appear to be slightly less glossy on location than they are in studio because they had a bit of a refurb in that. But still, this is, I mean, the skirt for one is very matte for one. It's very matte. And also the paint on these hemispheres hasn't quite landed just there. You can just see a bit of grey just there. It is still really nice to have this. For one, obviously, you know, we've got the newer correct dome lights and the newer, more accurate eye, which was on the previous ones. And this one, I will say, is painted a lot better. The eye itself is still, you know, it's still printed on there, but it does seem to be more aligned. But also, it seems to be slightly thicker as well. So, yeah, I know that was a concern for a lot of people for the previous Destiny 6, but yeah, this one doesn't really sit with either one very well on that. But yeah, it is fantastic to finally be able to get your hands on this. And as I said, it uses the Olga Slack sculpt, which I do prefer to the current one. Not that the current one's particularly bad, but this one's, you know, just superior in that to it. So, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, nothing really else than that to say about this figure. As I said, if this had came out, you know, before this raised neck section would come out, then I'd have nothing really bad to say about it, other than its lack of glossiness. So, yeah, as I said, it's weird that that is the case, that it came out after that, and the original plans were to have that raised section in there, so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Regardless, though, nice Dalek to have. And with this set being an online exclusive, we've got a backdrop. So, yeah, we've got a backdrop with footprints and that on the bottom. Show the dirt and that, because Alderaan loves dirt everywhere. But it is a nice little backdrop of the Movelling spaceship. And that's shrunk down a little bit, because the door would actually be further away than this. But yeah, it's a nice little backdrop bit of card and that to have. But I wouldn't call it a feature. Like, when I'm buying a set, the cardboard that's in the box, I would not call that a feature in the set. Like, you know, it's not like a figure. It's not like a figure. I'm not craving the cardboard in the box. It's a nice little extra thing. But it's not worth the extra money. Okay, so yeah, we can't be calling this, you know, an extra thing. It's a piece of cardboard. It's a piece of cardboard, okay? Taking a look at the window box here, so we can see here we've got a load of information and that on the back, which you can pause to read, but you won't. Mine has a slight ding on the corner, which is irritating. Yeah, that's the downside of it being an online exclusive, in that basically characters don't package their things very well. They just send it, you know, in a standard cardboard box like that. And Royal Mail, yeah, Royal Mail have gotten really bad in recent times at not, you know, delivering things undamaged. But yeah, that is just the nature of it. And also characters, their customer service is terrible, because basically if you know, if this was worse than that, I'm just going to leave it as is and that. But basically, you know, if you did get a one where it was damaged, what you have to do is send it back to character. You have to basically pay to send it back to character. They will then refund you, absolutely, you know, they will then refund you the money. And then once they receive it, then they'll send you another one out, which is just like, no. For one, you shouldn't have to pay the postage and that to send it back. regardless of whether they're going to refund you, because that can just be a headache on its own. Like, why can't they just send you, if they sent you a QR code and that, they can just send you a Royal Mail QR code, but, yeah. But regardless of that, that is just, an irritant and that to no end. So, yeah. And also a thing of, I ordered 3 of these, actually. Yeah, I ordered 3. Because I wanted 2 to open up to make a Dalek army. And I wanted the 1 to keep sealed. But I've only received 1 so far. But anyway, I'm still struggling to stack up these Movellings. They really don't want to stand up. I'm just going to have to rest them against the backdrop. And they still don't want to. So, yeah, there's a problem. We'll just focus on the Dalek. Because, again, that's 99% the reason most people are buying this set is for the Dalek. And the problem in that is that it's harder to army build this set when there's only 1 Dalek. And it's 40 fucking quid. So, now we finally get into the price. This is overpriced. No way, shape or form, this is overpriced. Like, the last time we had, a figure 3-pack as an online exclusive was the Silurian 3-pack. That was £30. Yes, it was it was the same figure 3 times over, but it was 30 quid. This is the same figure twice over, plus a Dalek, which is completely reused parts. And even these figures, you reuse some parts there, particularly in like the top of the legs and that. So, yeah. Like, the Silurians used more parts, I believe, if I remember right. More new parts than the Movellings did. Yet that was able to come out at £30. Why is this £40? Now, the Dalek can add an act to the cost, regardless of it being used parts. So, okay, if this was £30, I'd say that's a decent price. That's a fair price. £35, I'd say, it's still a fair price. But 40 is fucking pushing it. 40 is really pushing the price of this set. And unfortunately, it's put a lot of people off. Now, people who don't have a Suicide Dalek, it would still be worth it for that, considering, the insane prices it goes for on eBay. So, that would be worth it and that for that. But, yeah, if you want to, have an actual army of these, and maybe paint one of these to have the black band and that on there, yeah, it's going to get very expensive very, very quickly. So, yeah, it's just a shame that has been the case. Also, for some reason, on the website, you can only order 2 at a time. Like, it says on the thing, limited 2 per customer. Though there's nothing stopping you making multiple orders, which is what people have done, so you have to order 2 at a time every time. So, yeah, I don't know why. Good news is, Character have actually listened and updated their servers. I don't know if they've actually just updated their servers or they've changed to a different server, but it seems this time around, at least from my experience and other people I've spoken to, the website didn't receive, any major crashes and that, and people were actually able to order it. I know. Like, I'm praising Character for having a website where you're actually able to order something from. That's where the bar is for this. That is where the bar was and that for their website. Though it still had issues, because I know my friend had to ring up Character because for some reason PayPal was not showing up for him and several other people. It did for me, thankfully, and they've seemed to have fixed that issue, but God, the amount of issues and that on their website. Like, to this day, do not order on your phone unless you have to, because the drop-down menus don't work, and it's not optimized for phone usage at all, to the point where Character's own staff said they can't actually use it on their own phones, because it's just so badly optimized. Like, seriously. Like, come on, I just don't know why. I really don't know why. Like, considering most people who are ordering this are probably going to be ordering it off their phone. I had to order it off my phone. I went into Phoenix and sat down and ordered it off my phone because I was out at the time. So, yeah. But still, regardless of these issues and that, I still like the set. But for £40, I want perfection with this. I want perfections, and this does not have that. Like, as I said just before, should have an extra neck ring, and also they've done the thing again where they haven't painted the top of the slats. Yeah, and also the bottom of the slats as well. Now, in B&M, you can understand this as a cost-cutting measure. You just paint the very front of the slat and not bother with the top, or even the side of the slats either. They haven't painted the side bits of the slacks. So yeah, the slacks aren't painted particularly well. So again, a cost-cutting measure. Like, if we're paying £40 for this, £40, nah, you don't get to have the excuse of, oh, we need to cost cut and that for this. The whole point of the online exclusive is for stuff that, you know, won't make it to B&M and it could be too expensive. Now, the Movellans, I'm not sure. It's kind of teetering on the if it could or couldn't be available in B&M. I think it might have been ever so slightly too expensive to do it in B&M, but only slightly. Because I think, you know, if you manage the budget a bit better, it might be just about possible. But anyway, the Suicide Dalek, no, this basically could have and should have already been released in B&M. Now, what would have made this a better set and would have made the £40 easier to swallow is basically, rather than having, you know, a completely generic Movellan like we have here, so we have this one which is based on the Movellan that gets crushed under the load of rubble, then miraculously survived. And then we have this more, you know, generic one. Rather than that, okay, what if we had, which, you know, a lot of people have also been wanting, what if we had the Suicide Dalek? This Movellan, you know, which actually, not this one, this Movellan, sorry, which is more recognisable from the story and actually gets, you know, proper screen time and actual lines. And David Goodison Davros, David Goodison Davros? No? Because that I would have said, you know, would have been more worth the money. Like, it would have been pushing it a bit, but obviously Davros is a more expensive figure than that to make, so I could understand that being, you know, £40. If it was those three figures, then I would have said it was a fantastic set. And that. But the fact that, you know, we still haven't got a David Goodison Davros, and really, this should have been released in a Creation of the Dalek Set 2 with a David Goodison Davros at B&M. And that's what I thought it was going to be. But yeah, it just feels like, to be honest, I wouldn't have been surprised if the original plan was to just have 3 Movellans, and then Alduar saw that people really wanted, you know, the Suicide Dalek and were asking where it was, so just shoved it into this set. I wouldn't be surprised, because Alduar seems pretty sick of Daleks. And that you can tell, like, he's really enthusiastic in the video about the Movellans. Not as much about the Dalek. Also, apparently, you know, even though Alduar, he switched to calling himself Alduar again now. He kind of switched flip-flops in how he pronounces his name anyway. Alduar, for his, apparently, you know, Destiny of the Daleks being his favourite story, he doesn't really seem to know a lot about it. For example, he says, when the Doctor and Leela arrive on Skaro. That's interesting. That's that's a story. Yeah. What story's that, when the Doctor and Leela arrive on Skaro? Because it's not a big finish. And that, so yeah, that's interesting. So, another story called Destiny of the Daleks happened with the 4th Doctor and Leela. That's interesting. Yeah, I wonder where that information's come from. But anyway, I've waffled on enough and that with this. Would I recommend this set? Yes, but it doesn't stop the fact that it's overpriced. It doesn't stop the fact that it's overpriced. If you don't have a suicide diet, if you don't have the bomber diet, then yeah, it's worth it for that. But if you do, or if you're wanting to army build, like this is just like a type thing. Because to be honest, I would have probably bought, if this was £30, I would have bought another one. I would have bought 4 of them to have an army of 3. Because that's ideally what I'd like. But at £40 a pop, nah. And yeah, the thing is that character just seems to think, oh, this is the acceptable price and that about it. So yeah, and unfortunately, as they do keep selling, and I imagine this set will probably be more successful than the Fugitive Dr. TARDIS, which is still on the website. I imagine this one will be more successful purely because of the Dalek. And, you know, it's rarity in that, or, well, rarity expense on eBay. But, yeah, anyway, that's it for this review, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.